Too late.
Nope.
Content of this meeting has been sent to the- Not seeing it yet.
Okay, you're on.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the January 27th meeting of the Open Space Committee. This open meeting of the Open Space Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29, 2023. All members of the Open Space Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the committee to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of the meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. So thanks for coming. I see we have a quorum. When I call your name, would you acknowledge your presence? Dan Clark,
Here.
Brian Belfer,
Here.
Leslie Harrison,
Here.
Ashley Davies,
Here.
and me, John Campbell. Makes 5. And we're also joined by Vinnie Vignali of town staff.
Yes.
Hi, Vinnie. Thanks for getting us going, and thanks for your work getting the agenda together and so on.
You're welcome.
First item would be minutes from our last meeting, November 25, where myself, Brian, Ashley, Leslie, and Anthony were present. Anybody have any comments on the minutes, corrections, or otherwise a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Leslie.
Second.
Second, Brian. Appreciate that. I'll take a roll call vote to approve the minutes. Brian,
Yes.
Dan?
It's a dare, so I don't think I
Oh, I'm
can.
sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
And I knew that. I screwed it up. Leslie,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and me, John. Minutes are approved. Thank you very much. We might refer to them in covering our material. So, pretty brief agenda. I'm sure we can buzz through it. First item is the CPC funding item, the Conservation Fund, which was presented to the CPC at its last meeting, January 2nd. There is generally, of course, good appreciation and acceptance for the positive role that the Conservation Fund with CPA funds has had in town, and so there was general consensus and support. Leslie was a remote participant at the meeting and requested that the committee consider a larger amount than the application, which was 200,000. And that might come up. The next CPC meeting is February 6th. We should be deliberating the applications and making decisions that night as to what to bring to town meeting and what amounts. So it's a possibility. However, I will tell you from looking at the applications that are presented and given available funds, there isn't enough new revenue to cover all of the requests. The largest being affordable housing units on Village Drive, $800,000 request, along with this article we're talking about, along with an article to begin some buttoning up and restoration of White Cliffs. And at any rate, we'll need to use some of the reserves, the uncommitted fund, to accommodate the applications we have. So I'm not sure if there'll be an appetite to increase it and use more of the reserves, where the committee's custom, as of the last few years anyway, has been to maintain some reserve that's uncommitted to any given category, therefore giving the best flexibility when needed, which was utilized last year when we were able to acquire the Whitney Street property. So we used conservation funds, we used unreserved funds, and we used new revenue. So it worked out. Therefore, if I had to guess, we'll end up trying to get the application approved at the amount requested, but we'll see how that discussion goes. Any input, feedback, questions on CPA?
How much is that amount again? 200?
200,000.
Okay.
The fund has only about 40,000 in it. I might be misquoting, 40, 60,000, something like that. Some of it was prior money going way back, and most of that is actually interest on the funds that were in it, which I don't think the interest is committed under CPA, if you will, but nonetheless, it's in the conservation fund. We're also still expecting the money to come from DCR with regard to their commitment on the Whitney Street property. But I don't think we have everything buttoned up to get that reimbursed yet. Do you know any more on that, Vinny?
Yeah, the latest update that I got from Laurie was that they finished up with their due diligence and they didn't find any issues, but they also want an approval not required, a surveyed plan to break out the housing portion, the one lot up front for the housing portion. So that's in the works of getting bids for a surveyor. DCR is going to be paying for that and doing it, is what my understanding is.
Yeah, that's great. Well, good. So you don't see any hurdles there, just some time.
Just time.
Good. Good to know. So if those two things came to pass, we'd be back at 400,000 plus, which isn't too bad. Anything else on that agenda item?
Well, I guess just to Leslie's point, we could probably show when we started requesting that amount per year and then calculate based on inflation and make a good case for upping it.
Right.
Just solely based on inflation, we could
Right,
increase
right.
that request. But yeah, I mean, we don't,
Yesterday's 200,000 is now 300,000, something like that.
yeah. there
We
you go.
had some, didn't we have some years where
Not a
like
bad argument.
500,000? 200 is actually on the low side, right? Didn't we have
There were a
500?
couple when we had like really active projects that we needed
Yeah.
funding for, I think. Yeah.
With some
Yeah,
big ones.
true, it's true. And in a lot of years, we sort of acquiesced
Yes.
because there were, too many other bigger projects. So like I say, I think we're at a sweet spot. I think we could get that amount through. The unreserved account is around 500,000. We would need to use maybe half of that or not quite to satisfy all the applications. So I think we'd be okay for that, but let's see how it goes. I will not renege on the request to try for more and see where the discussion goes. But I think we'll have to see, if we take the big items and we take the required items, for instance, we still have to pay another bond payment on White Cliffs. And you put that together and we sort of the committee tends to take that into account and then see, okay, where are we at with the whole budget and can we approve everything that's been requested, or at least everything that looks viable for this year? And there really isn't that much more.
Promise not to throw a temper tantrum.
You will? Okay, good.
I promise not to.
Good. Appreciate that. We don't want too much disruption, but you're free to. It's open meeting. So we'll see what happens. There, like I mentioned, for those interested, there's an application requested through Lori Connors and the town staff for the application was essentially for architectural design money and also environmental study of the White Cliff site to prepare to demolish the older, I should say, the newer sections like the kitchens and so on that are not historic. They take away from the building itself and they increase the potential for continued humidity damage and so on. So all of the work on White Cliffs, even from the first study, had recommended the removal of those additions. But to do so, you have to plan for the demolition and then plan for the buttoning up of the building. And, trying to prepare it for the next phase. So as chair of that committee and among our committee, we made a case to the Board of Selectmen that rather than going to a town meeting and asking for engineering study money without any other forecasted plan, that we felt like there might be a lot of objection to throwing more money at it without some idea of what's going to happen. So we're making the case to tell the town this is really a phase of what will be at least a two-phase process to not only learn what it should cost properly, then go out for proper bids, and next town meeting, 2026, come back and ask for what we project to be a much larger number that would be potentially covered by CPA funds, but would be for the demolition and preparation work that no matter what happens to the building in the future would stage it for that next phase. If the town continues to restore it, or if there's another partner that comes along. But we wanted to get their the select board's blessing, if you will, to present it that way. And there was good appreciation for that. Not a unanimous vote, but nonetheless a majority vote to support that point of view.
Great. Has the idea of making that site the site of the new town hall in future died? Has that been, that's still a potential?
No, it hasn't died at all. It's brought up, but the part of that portion of their meeting also included a review of a number of ideas, almost as if you were standing back, 4 years ago. But it was a review by the town administrator of the different potential uses, including the town hall recommendation. But I get the sense that the select board still does not have a clear consensus opinion, wants to still play the process out further, potentially one idea potentially going out for requests for bids again. So I think they're opening up the whole process again, but in the meantime, knowing that we own the property.
I think they're
Um,
overstepping their bounds a bit. They got
In
a
what-
committee to look into town hall locations that voted that that was the appropriate place. It's gone out for bids. Nobody wanted it. Nobody was viable. Like, why are
Also-
why are they rehashing this? It's just so disappointing.
Well, I mean, I didn't attend the meeting, but I watched it I
Yeah.
watched it streaming. John, correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong, but they talked about just in terms of priorities with, is it Peasley or Proctor that has a new
I know
roof?
there are a lot
So
of needs.
some school projects and the fires. What they said was, even if it were a town hall, I think he said 2030 something. It was, we're talking 10 years down the road. So that was.
2030 is only 5
correct,
years.
Sean?
Oh, you think 2035?
No, I think it was 2035. I think he said 2035. I mean, it was way down there, which when you think about the fire station and the schools and so.
Yeah, I think we need to
No,
move on from this discussion. It's not our purview. I just kind of wanted
no.
to
helpful to
mention it
know.
in the big picture of the CPA, really. And I just think it's a point that citizens want to know about. But yeah, I share your frustration. But I'm also
Mhm.
preaching to them a little bit and to the CPC to move forward. We cannot, every time the subject comes up, people want to rehash the past and what was overlooked, and that's easy to do, but it's not productive. So at this point,
Yeah, I think this is a great solution, John, to use CPA to at least keep it in good shape.
well, I'm trying to commit that I'm trying to reemphasize to the current select board and others that when it came before town meeting and CPA sponsored it, CPC sponsored it, there was always an inherent commitment that we knew CPA was the vehicle, CPA funds was the vehicle to, renovating it. So it's still it's a revenue source that's strong every year. You can borrow against it. If there's a plan in place, you can keep going to town meeting and get reauthorization to use CPA for different phases of it. And it doesn't necessarily have to cost as much new taxpayer money or increased property taxes. Granted, the small surcharge on property taxes is what pays for CPA plus state matching, but nonetheless, it's better than the alternative. So that's the positive spin I'm trying to put out there, so we can at least move the question and stop having ambiguity every time it's brought up. I felt some momentum around those ideas. At least I could say that.
Nice, that's good.
Very good. So with that, I think it's best that we not create a new debate. But having said that, the next item on our agenda is with regard to the Bewalt and Aqueduct trails. And at that same select board meeting on January 13, I ended up meeting Don Byrne outside in the hallway. I had not met him before.
Oh yeah, he's
Heard of him through you,
course.
Ashley.
yes,
and
he's a force of
I didn't realize why he was there even until he got up and spoke before the CPA agenda item came up. And I didn't know that he was involved, but apparently he had reached out and spoke to the planning board. And he made a presentation, the purpose of which was to re-educate Northborough and the select board on these trails initiatives and what's been accomplished in Westborough and somewhat in Shrewsbury, and was looking for renewed commitment. And he achieved that goal. The select board wrote a letter to Westborough expressing enthusiasm and support for working together toward what might be, the extension of these trails. Now, the Bewalt section is, southwest part of town.
very small section.
Very small, and so, but we know that the Aqueduct Trail connection is much bigger, and it speaks to your work, Ashley, to try to get it to a point where we could bring it to a CPA article, and getting pushback from MWRA on doing anything to the surface. Well, Don seemed to have new information, or at least new hope from people
Yeah.
he talks to. I don't know who they are, and I don't know if he's a resource to you too, Vinny, with regard to our slow process on the Aqueduct Bridge. But he's, as you say, a force of confidence and enthusiasm, and
Yeah.
just feels like this is something that's going to happen. And of course, he brought up the connection to the Central Mass Rail Trail and the potential for that, everything that you had brought to light as well, Ashley, a couple of years ago. So I was sort of like, well, this is interesting. It's kind of back on the radar, and I'm bringing it up to us to figure out what steps we as members might do, even if it's just volunteering time to get into it again.
Yeah, I mean, he's been regularly kind of pinging Amy and I think bringing Lori into it as well, to kind of keep us up to date on what he's been doing over there and to offer his help. And I've been swamped, so I haven't been able to do much. I know Amy Paretsky's been talking to him a bit via email. I've seen some emails go back and forth. So I'm glad. I didn't realize he was going to planning board. I'm glad that's happening. And he's kind of offered his services, his pro bono services, to do whatever he can do to help move things forward. So it sounds like he's continuing that. And I mean, even if it's not resurfaced, it's still an amazing connection. And if we can formalize it, then great. And Bewalt, I think for that to happen, I think we would have to put in some work because of where it is.
Right.
But yeah, I'll reach out to him, and I'll check my email again and see what the last one was, and reach out to him to see if there's anything I can do. But Vinny, have you been on those emails?
I have not. I
No.
know almost nothing about this. I've just, the last time it came up was the idea that we contact MWRA, and they said no. So that we are in the midst of trying to work to get the bridge over the Assabet River worked on. We just got approval. We're now trying to schedule the engineering company to go in there and do the analysis that needs to be done. And we're hoping not to mess that up. That's been a year and a half trying to just get a permit to go in there and evaluate it. So we
Wow.
don't, we want to tread lightly.
Yeah. 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 Let's not bring anything else into the mix.
Yeah.
Um,
But
You
the
say
planning
you
board,
just,
I'm sorry, the planning board did send a letter in support of the whole project. So I think there's interest in the long term, but the short term is where we're at right now.
Brian, are
It-
you guys working on that?
Well, I've been peripherally connected to this for several years now. I actually attended the meeting in
Yeah.
Westboro when Mitch Cohen read the letter of support. I'm sorry, Vinny, we just got approval. Remind me what step we just got approval for the Aqueduct Bridge?
We had the 8M permit to get permission to use the bridge as a public access, but now we needed to go out and do engineering study to make sure it was stable and would support whatever load or whatever conditions have happened. Because right now, no one's really looked at that for years. So we needed an engineer to go
Yeah.
out and evaluate it. And that triggered another 8M permit that we had to get. So we just received that a couple of days before Christmas. And we're trying to get the contractor, the engineering company, to go out there and do the actual evaluation.
And what kind of prodding does the engineering company need to like do that before like
Well, they've had it on their list to do for the last year since we've been trying to get a permit. So I can't really
Yeah.
blame them for not having it next on their list because it's been so long on their wait list. But we're also running into bad weather. So some of it is you can't go out there with snow, you can't go out there with freezing temperatures. So they got to try to time it to go into the aqueduct, do some evaluation on some of the structural stuff when it's not in frozen conditions.
Gotcha. So
Not a
then
good time for that.
realistically then when it's spring, when it warms up, when the weather turns,
Yes.
they'll be able to do the
That's
next
what I'm
step.
expecting. Yes.
So they actually go inside,
Yes.
not all done from the surface.
Not the analysis. They have to
Wow.
evaluate the structure.
Oh, that sounds cool. Can I go?
Well, what's that confined space training, if you've got that, you can
wild.
jump right in.
It sounds really cool, doesn't it?
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I'll watch the slideshow that Norm has. That's enough for me.
Yeah, some of this stuff was the renewed push with the B-Walt is also it's tied right into there's a huge push right now for completion of the Mass Central Rail Trail. And the folks who have been pushing that project along for multiple decades are now targeting the obstacle towns. And the B-Wall offers connectivity to that as well. So, and we Northborough wind up tied into it through the aqueduct access. So the bridge is key and then everything else becomes a good link.
Where's the
Yeah, I mean,
connection
wait,
done?
so Berlin, so the aqueduct goes up to Berlin and the
Oh,
trail
okay.
in
Goes right up
Berlin,
to the Mass Central Rail Trail in some fashion.
Okay.
it's in design and then there's a little portion near Clinton that's proposed right now, but 96.5 miles of the 104 miles are complete of the Mass Central Rail Trail, which is super exciting. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's a great
huge.
trail. I've been on pretty much all of it
Yeah.
except the Berlin part.
It's
I
pretty
did it
cool.
in
Well, it's not
sections.
complete yet, but I've been on that rail corridor in Berlin before it was anything. So it's nice. It's a really nice spot. It kind of travels along 62 there. Is that 62? Like behind some
70
houses.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, be really cool.
So yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring up this discussion, which is great. Any behind the scenes information that you can bring forth, great. And if there's a role open space can play, great. I'm sure he knows we're for it. But preparing for what we might need to contribute in money for study or evaluation, then maybe we can do another think about it for next year's CPA cycle. Kind of see where it goes. So
Okay. I think, yeah, all right. the last email I got from Don was kind of asking about any support we could provide because there were some naysayers in his town. So it looks like he got that. That was in December. He sent that email. I'll reach back out and just see what else.
Yeah, he had a very positive response among the board. They gave
Great.
him a lot of time. They were patient, and the letter was enthusiastic. So
Awesome.
yeah, it was good to see.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Landowner outreach and discussions with landowners. I guess we got your email regarding an update on the family you had been working with and that we had approved appraisals for, but it was not very positive. You want to brief us, Vinny?
Yeah, the summary was the appraisal was lower than what they expect to get on the market, but they did comment that they are trying to preserve the house. So the historical property would be, they would like to do that. And that's their hope, but it was not committed to. But they have it out. They've got, I think, a couple of realtors talking about it, and they're gonna move forward with that. It wasn't a unanimous decision, but the majority wants to move forward on the market, not work with the town.
Yeah, they could
Nice.
always put it on the market and see what they see and come back or not. So I
Yep.
guess,
That was my response letter. It sounds good. Good luck, and
yeah,
we're here if it's not as valued as high as you think it is.
yeah. It's a bummer we put the money into 2 appraisals, but yeah,
Right.
that's the cost of business.
Do you feel they still have an unrealistic expectation about what it can
It's-
yield?
It's so hard to the market's been so volatile in the last few years. It's so hard to really know. I think everybody's kind of it's been shocking what's been able to be done. So who knows? They might be totally realistic. I don't know. It's there's I think there were some lots proposed, Vinny, that just seemed not realistic at all.
Difficult,
But
yes. And
yeah,
they haven't
but-
gotten the soil tests, so
Yeah.
that's what's really going to tell the story. But I don't know.
But
People
that's,
have bought and gotten lots.
we saw what happened right near Melkin. So
Yeah.
so I won't say that they're being unrealistic. So
Well, we'll keep an open mind on it, I guess, right?
What did happen there, by the way?
at Melkin,
Yeah.
where we got soil tests and we're told that you couldn't put any fields there and they're not
Yeah.
buildable because it was
Yeah.
too wet.
Yeah, that one.
And now there are 3 mansions there.
Yeah, that's it. What
Yeah,
happened?
Two.
I
Isn't
think
it two?
somebody bought them and put in some fill.
No, well, actually, what I caught the very tail end of that. There's
Oh,
not
yeah.
enough
What did
room
they-
there for a field, just the way things are lined up, because there's a wetland that comes between 2 upland areas. So what they did was they put the 2 house lots on the 2 upland areas, and there's a wetland between the 2, and then there's wetland all definitely in the back and around the. what
And
is
they're
that?
on town sewer
Outside.
over there? They must be.
I don't think so. I thought that, no, they have septic.
I
Didn't
don't
they
know. It
extend
doesn't-
sewer to Melican recently? I thought they extended sewer to Melican a few years ago.
I'm pretty sure they have septics in the front.
Okay. Well,
As you say, you never know what can be done, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't have enough, like I said, it wasn't a big upland space, but there were a couple of uplands there. And that was, the wetlands were defined before I started, so.
I mean, based on where the houses are, we could have put something. We could have put something there, but we just didn't think it was possible.
yep.
Well, the
So-
area between the houses is not usable. That's a wetland as well. So that's what makes it difficult for a field. You got
Oh,
a
so
spot on one side,
bifurcated.
another spot on the other. But that area almost up to the street is all wet as well. So it's like not even a finger. It's pretty wide. It's probably 50 feet wide.
Interesting.
Up
Yeah.
with a new sport with a big barrier in the center.
Volleyball.
Yeah, there you go.
A little wider than that, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's unfortunate. Anyway, I didn't mean to distract. I've been
No,
wondering
yeah.
too, so.
that's-
Funny.
Well, that's helpful, Vinny, that I didn't realize that.
We'll keep our minds open on that one.
Yeah.
The agenda has a mention of line
Oh,
48, which was
yeah.
Northgate Road, and if you didn't know, select board approved accepting that donation
Great.
Right. So
on January 13th. So
we're just
that
going through
is town owned.
and we're doing a survey plan for that. Or no, a title search and deed reference stuff. And then the
Good.
town will accept it. Well, it'll go to the Concom for consideration of acceptance, which they were in support of it.
Very good. Do we have any other new information on any?
Yeah, I was just curious, that piece I
Other
see, it's just a quarter of an acre. I forget the details of that. Is that something that could be used for like a community garden or anything like that?
No, there's a big swamp right next to it that it's conservation land already, and it's just
Okay.
gonna join that.
Okay, so I'll just tack on. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm back to that. I mean, maybe there's room for a walkway or something. Didn't we hear that
Not
some
to
people
get
kind of
anywhere.
cut through there or something?
It's a dangerous corner.
If there was a
Right?
sidewalk, it would work, but there's really nothing there. One of the neighbors, I think, I've heard from them. I'm not sure whether it was at conservation or here, but they were hoping to get like a walkway through the big wetland from the cul-de-sac that's just, I think it's southeast of the wetland to go up towards the school that's up there. But that would be just like a cut-through trail that I'm not sure the Trails Committee has even considered. And it's across a wide wetland area, so it would be difficult to permit. And all the trees have fallen down. It looks like a big slash pile out there. I'm not sure what the bug was that got them, but it's a mess, an old cedar swamp.
Well, Trails Committee hasn't considered it because I don't think it's really been presented as a. I don't recall hearing anyone specifically saying we should put a trail here, so let's go walk it. Other than I thought Paul had mentioned it at one of our previous meetings.
Yeah, that was probably it. Yes, that's right.
He lives near it, I think he said.
Yeah, that's probably where he got it. But we're going to acquire it, and it might be something to look into.
So Vinny, I thought that adjacent swamp was town land, not conservation land.
Well, it says on the assessor map that it says town land, but when I checked the deed and Laurie checked the deed, it says granted to the Conservation Commission.
Oh, well, that's good. I didn't realize. Yeah.
I know there's so many 0 Northgate. Which one was that again?
Southeast of the intersection with Northgate and Davis.
Southeast.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't really give you any connection to the school. It is super dangerous that I've run around taking a left from Northgate onto Davis by accident. It's really scary.
Yeah, I saw a woman that got run out of her shoes over there when I first started. She's
Oh my
going
God.
barefoot.
Oh, but they wanted to cut through. I see, cut through over to Northgate. You'd have to cut through some people's yards too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the plan is just to accept it right now.
Got it.
Excuse me. And then the only other item was the landowner outreach. I'm going to be sending a letter of interest out to the property owners in the areas north of Shops Way, because we're hoping to look at that big parcel. That was the one section on the outline or the spreadsheet that we didn't send anything out in the last go round. So there's like
Okay.
4 or 5 parcels that I was going to send a letter off to.
Great.
And I'm not sure what the B-Wall Trail location is, and that might be
I
the
think it's
location.
south. I think
Okay.
it's south.
I don't know if there's
I
anything
think it
south
goes
of
through
that.
that old baseball facility.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it's south. It's like a really weird spot down there, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how they were going to get through. I'm waiting to get the plan.
Well, there used to be when that was a driving range, there's a road that went from the clubhouse that you see that's abandoned now. And the road would go down along there to the back because they used to have golf training way in the back. And now the baseball academy's taken up some of that space, but you're right, there's that corridor is still there. And then I don't know what you do from there. Like what is B-Wall
Yeah.
proposing to get across?
I don't
Route
know.
20?
You'd have to cross Route 20 right before the on-ramps. I can see the corridor there still, and it goes right to the Shrewsbury line. Yeah, it would be a big infrastructure project to get an overpass or something. I think that's what Don had
Yeah.
proposed at the beginning, which is why we were kind of like, oh.
Yeah, it's kind of massive, but on the other hand, people do try to go between, that side of the street and the Wegman side of the street, and they have to wait at the light. And
Yeah,
pedestrian bridge it's a lot of money, right? Over
it's
$1
a lot
million
of
bucks,
money.
I'm sure.
Or go the
Yes.
Lyman approach and do a tunnel underneath.
Here we go. Put in a box culvert. You just have to
That's
crouch.
a little swampy. Yeah.
It's
Vinny,
joking.
these properties though that you just brought up, are they the
Mul-
ones 57, 58, 59, 60?
I think so. Yeah, one owner.
They all have, the same owner,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
Makes it for an easy letter.
yeah, if you can find them, right?
I got him tracked down. The new clerk who does the minutes is very good about deed stuff, and she tracked him down.
Great.
That's great.
And the 156 and 61, we've talked about before. Huge land and business, but they had,
Oh, right. No
but
interest.
I mean, well, there was outreach, but it goes back to Charlie 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So, some renewed relationship with family there wouldn't be a bad idea. You never know what can change, but it certainly appears to be an extremely popular business, and they use all the land back there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then some. I mean, they have leased land all over the place too for overflow.
Yeah, I'm kind of
Oh.
surprised they don't own that piece too.
And still
Piece there.
they're like fourth generation or something at this point. Still Bigelow family. It's a pretty incredible business, actually.
Mhm.
I remember
good
went to
to-
buy something there once, and they're like, "Let's go in the truck." I was like, "No, I can walk." They're like, "No, get in the truck," and they took
No.
way back. I mean, I was blown away. And I commented. They said, "Oh yeah, we still have we have land leased elsewhere for." I mean, it's quite the operation.
Well, good to keep on the radar. It's great to have this tool and that you're updating it, Vinny. Very helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other lines to discuss? Any news?
Nobody else has contacted us.
Okay.
From all the letters.
So be it. Okay, any other discussion questions with regard to these agenda items on landowners? Hearing none, we will move on. So the next item is regard to the Master Plan Implementation Committee. We brought this up briefly in November. I wanted to bring it up again. So Ashley had been our rep from Open Space and would like to stop that role. I joined the committee as the at-large member, and I'm still active on it. I certainly cover and answer questions with regard to the overlap of open space and CPA with regard to open space and things like that they come up. The committee has kind of a core group of 7, 8 members. There are 3 open spots, actually, I was informed. And so it's not like we have to fill it, but if someone from this committee, and maybe we got to keep it open until we have more of a full quorum, but if someone is interested in joining that committee as the open space member, speak up. We're meeting every 2 months, and it's been all Zoom so far.
think we have a
Um,
volunteer.
Leslie
Looks like
excited.
Leslie is ready and willing.
Yeah, so I mean, what's the commitment? I would be interested, but I've got a few
think
other things
it's-
on my plate as we all do, so just
Once every other month or once a month.
It's been a little more, but once a month now. They're not updating the master plan, so it's now implementation stuff. So I think it's once a month.
no, it's gone to every 2 months.
Oh, really? Oh,
That's what
good.
I mean, 'cause I was like, I didn't think I missed that many.
Yeah, since
missed the last one.
summer or fall, there just wasn't enough new activity, and it's so good people on the committee. It's represented from many different areas and people in town. It's an important committee, but it is slow process. It's slow progress. There's really not that many things the committee can just, start a project and do it. It's more a matter of continuing to review the master plan, focus on a certain area. There was obviously a focus on downtown revitalization that took up the first couple of years of the committee. That resulted in some consultant studies and some ideas that honestly, I think it's fair to say had mixed reviews in town, mixed, ideas on it. But there is, some focus on beautifying downtown, and Lori Connors has taken the initiative to start a project to do some small things around Blake Street. And, so it's hard, but she's really continuing to push the initiative to do some little things like that. So that'll keep coming up. There's other aspects of the master plan that the committee tries to look at. Where can we provide energy to certain areas, and that's kind of how the discussions go. So there's no other commitment of time other than those meetings that are typically at 7 and go for 2 hours on average.
in person or Zoom or,
They're all Zoom so far.
okay. Yeah, no, I would be interested. I've got a bunch of travel coming up over the next few months, but yeah, I would be interested.
Okay. So I'll bring it.
Everybody else here is. I certainly don't want to take someone else's.
No, Leslie, this is the second meeting we're asking at, so
Okay.
I think you're good. I really enjoyed being on the committee, but I just don't have the bandwidth to give it what it needs. And I can't do any more than open space right now.
Yeah, fair enough. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're interested, Leslie. You come with a lot of experience in town, so you'd be a good asset. I'll pass along to Lori and Rick Leaf, who's the chair, and set you up for the
Great.
next meeting.
I
which
didn't
is
even realize
not-
Rick was the chair. That adds appeal as well. So that's great to know. Thank you.
Yeah, Rick's the chair. There's a member from historical and from planning and from that might be wrong about historical, pardon me.
No, Tom Reardon's on it from historic.
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not?
Millie.
Oh, Millie. Okay, Millie.
It was Millie.
Yeah,
Amy.
you're correct.
You're right, it's Millie.
Amy is planning, Millie's historical, but they're both also on planning board.
Yeah.
They're yeah,
Julianne.
from the select one
Select
board, yes. Other at-large members,
Tracy Camerano from Rec.
Rec,
think.
is very good, yep. Jean Cahill,
Has
Oh,
Jean
Gina, oh,
stepped
good.
down or she's still on it? I hope
she's still on it. Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
good. Oh, good. Okay. No,
Jean
it sounds
Cahill,
like
Fran Backstrom,
Fran.
oh, good. Yeah, sounds like a good group.
Jean
Yeah,
Kennedy,
it's-
yeah,
it's-
good.
There's a lot of good stuff. Oh yeah, Gene Kennedy. He's been super
Good
helpful.
people with good ideas. Those are the active members, I think there's supposed to be a finance member, but that person doesn't usually show up. So that's kind of the crew, and, Rick and Lori, tend to meet beforehand, set the agenda, add new items. So I think it's, next March something. Leslie and I can get that detail for you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm gone at the end of February through the 9th of March. So hopefully I won't miss the next one.
Yeah, I think it's, I have to look it up. But
Okay,
I
that's,
think
yeah,
it-
I can look, I
yeah, I
can
think
look
it's
on the
tentative.
town website
Yeah.
too. Thank
I
you.
didn't write it. I didn't put it in my calendar. Maybe we didn't set it, but I think we did. I think it's the third Thursday. Something
Okay,
like that.
would work then. Yeah, I'll look it up online too. Master Plan Implementation Committee.
Thursday? Friday. No, Thursday. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Thank you for your interest, and I'll pass that along, like I said, and copy you on an email.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Leslie.
So that's all we had, other than any new business or new ideas. Anybody?
Yeah, actually,
any-
something
anything?
just came to mind when I mentioned community garden. So I'm working kind of backwards. The reason I mentioned community garden is because Ally had mentioned to me that they were looking for that the one on Valentine Road is, very popular and that they would love to have another spot for a community garden in town. And the reason she mentioned that to me was because are you folks familiar with the Brigham Street Burial Ground?
Yep.
It's one of the oldest, right, in town. And if you look at the property, the right half of it, there's no burial. So we did ground penetrating radar. So the left side, there's a lot of unknown, like an unseen graves that have identified through GPR. There's some on the back far left there, it's very visible, pretty cool graves, and you can see some wolf stones and things like that in various areas. But we've been able to determine to the right of a certain point, and we're actually we have some CPA funds left over. We're going to try to put a sort of a dividing some granite posts between to sort of delineate all the burials are over here. So we have this big open space on the right. So it would not be good for a community garden, but and Ally didn't really have any other ideas, but I realized it's open space. Just throw it out there and see if anybody would have any very passive. We looked at putting in a bench. The problem with benches is it has to be ADA compatible. So you have to actually have a walkway that goes to the bench, and the bench has to be on a certain kind of platform. And I respect that certainly, but it might not be a good spot for something like that. But anyway, I just wanted to throw it. It didn't even occur to me till that little piece of land was on the list, and I mentioned community garden, and my brain went backwards to that. So just something to think about.
You're saying ideas to do something with the area?
Yeah, anybody has any ideas?
You're asking about ideas for spots or ideas of what to do with Brigham?
No, what to do with that side of the Brigham? Yeah,
Oh, I
Brigham
see.
Street. Yeah,
Okay.
if anybody has brilliant ideas of something to do, you'd want to be respectful of the fact that it is a cemetery. Not gonna have a soccer field there where balls are gonna go, flying onto graves and things like that. So it would need to be something very passive, and it might just stay open and pristine. It's perfectly flat. We had to take down a lot of trees because there were a lot of dead trees. We're going to be planting new trees. Before we planted a lot of new trees, I said, we should consider what it could be used for if it were more open than having a lot of trees on it. So I just wanted to throw it out. Like I said, it just occurred to me. I throw it out there. We don't have to talk about it now.
What
Yeah,
amount of space is there?
I'd have to look. I forget how much space, but it's a decent spot.
Yeah, I've driven by a lot.
It's about half of it.
But I mean, it would be great if you could do more with that somehow. I mean, it's cleared out. Money's been spent on tree removal, obviously restored. So, and you have a place to pull a car over. You have the little display sign telling you what's there.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's really.
But otherwise, it's
Yeah.
just open. It looks like just open grass. Well, obviously, they're not marked. But had it been discussed ever to create a path that walks around those different sites, or to make little markers in some way? And then
We
you
do
could
have
put-
so what we're going to do. I mean, there are markers for. There's some graves that are well marked. There's also a big interpretive sign that has a little map of where with the GPR. There we have on the interpretive sign, we have a list of all the Beth Finch McCarthy is a genealogist in town, and she went through all sorts of documentation to come up with. So we have confirmed graves. On one end of the spectrum are confirmed. On the other end we have no idea, and the other ones are likely graves. So there's a whole interpretive sign there as well. But yeah, having paths through the property, through the grave area, you really wouldn't want to do, because you don't want to disturb anything that could possibly be could be a grave. Is that what you were talking about, John? Is sort of
Yeah, I mean, like you think of other graveyards, you can, there's pathways, and then if you wanted to stroll between the graves, you're entitled to, and some people do that. I just thinking out loud about something to enhance the use of it, because I don't know if anyone's actually stopping and walking it,
Yeah, that I think that's tricky, because we don't know, at a normal grave in a normal cemetery, where the graves are.
Mhm.
And here we have a general idea, but I think it would be dangerous to just, on that side, at least. On the right side, where we know there aren't graves, we are going to put an interpretive sign. Probably we put these pillars in the center. We're going to meet with Scott in the spring, Scott Charpentier, to look at it, but probably put the sort of a delineation in the middle, and then have an interpretive sign referring to the graves being to the left of it. But I think it would be tricky to put a path through
Yeah,
the grave
okay.
area.
Fair enough.
And why do you think it wouldn't be good for a community garden? Just not enough space?
Not enough space, and I think it might be disrespectful if you have that many people
see.
there, and it will really detract, I think, from, I
What
don't
you're
know.
trying-
Yeah, it just didn't feel right. I can't articulate it completely, but
Yeah.
nobody in historic, it just felt like it could be disrespectful of the space, and just too many, and parking too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in theory, if there weren't the cemetery there, the burial ground would be perfect, really perfect,
Right.
because it's just flat and pretty large.
Yeah.
Anyway, food for thought.
Well, just a thought that came to my mind in your kind of the site conditions, what's there. I had been to a place where they created a labyrinth right near an old graveyard. So if people
that's
wanted to go out there and just have like a meditative, that's kind of the idea of the graveyard, the same tone. Put some benches and a labyrinth built in, however you want to do it, with rocks, stones, a mossy path. It depends on what the environmental condition is out there, and maybe do something quiet like that.
And if you could find, do you have like a link to something like that, or a picture? That would be great. If you have something tangible that you could refer to, that would be
Look it up.
okay.
I
I mean, it doesn't have to
remember
be
where I
now,
was.
but yeah, that would be helpful, just to get some ideas that I can run by historic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
And maybe that idea could, maybe to John's point, maybe sort of on the periphery of it, rather than going through but maybe, on the periphery, we could do something where it would sort of tie it all together as well.
Yeah, labyrinth walk is usually in a circle, and then it kind of goes through. And you just either praying, meditating, whatever it might be, through the labyrinth. And it's not like it's a maze where you're trying to get trapped in it. It's
Not gonna,
a
no
meditative
corn
thing.
maze, huh?
It's
No,
it's low to the
Small corn
ground.
maze.
yeah,
It's low to
just
the
usually
ground so you
bumps.
can step out.
Yeah,
Right.
no, it sounds cool. And I've even seen, actually, now that I think, I've seen things that are like a spiral, right? Where it's just a
Yeah.
walk where you just go to it's not even a maze. Or maybe it is a labyrinth a little
That's
bit,
what a
but yeah,
labyrinth,
it's
yeah.
a spiral that goes towards the center. So yeah,
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I can get you some photos somewhere.
thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. That's helpful. Okay, thanks, folks. Sorry for the addition, but blame the 0 Northgate.
Good. Alright.
Very well. Anything else from anyone? Hearing none. Right now we have the next meeting scheduled for the 4th Monday in March, 7 p.m. It looks like there is not a Celtics home game, so we have the potential for Paul to join us, which is good. I can't speak for the select board schedule because Lisa has asked to try to join, but I don't see, it's too hard to move it from the days we have. There's too many other people on committees, so without any objections, that date sound okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my calendar. Yeah.
Can you repeat that date, John?
March 24,
March 24th.
Monday, 7 PM.
Okay. All right.
Same time,
Thank you.
same station.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Any other business to bring up? Hearing none, would anyone like to move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Good job.
Second.
Good job. Roll call vote. Dan,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and I say yes as well. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
you.
Have a good night.
Night.